name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Hey guys, so this is probably the last bull drops. I would assume we are going to be wrapping up the fourth round here. 8 matches, 4 on the women's, 4 on the men's side. Don't worry, I'm not going to be by myself. Again, Mario is coming in momentarily. So as long as he's not here, I might as well talk about like whatever was the worst match of today, or rather the most like uninteresting match of today. So probably we should focus on Iga Świątek playing Keys-Rybakina. I think that kind of makes sense. And well, that match just ended up being a bit of a bust, which we were expecting. 6-love, 6-1. I think the way bigger storyline there is basically how Iga only lost four games in the last 3 matches and 11 in general this event. I think that makes it her easiest pathway so far to a Grand Slam quarterfinal. I'm not saying easiest in the sense of the opponents, just in the way that she's progressed through the draw. And well, I mean, what else can you really say about that, right? I mean, she's bageled her last 3 opponents, so Shramkova, Raducanu, and Lys now. Eva Lys, of course, one of the kind of like feel-good stories of this event. She was pretty fantastic, just making it to the 4th round for her, getting that top 100 debut. You know, she was already like she already had her flight ticket bought, I think. Right? I mean, yeah, she already had her ticket home and basically was just waiting around for that potential lucky loser opportunity to open up, which it did. And we knew that her pathway to this, after she took the Kalinskaya spot in the draw, that it wasn't necessarily all that tough. So I guess there were just not many expectations regarding Świątek playing Lys, especially as we know that Iga has that quality where like against anybody not in the top 50, it's basically a mismatch. Like they just cannot really handle her ball quality. And well, I mean, what else can you say? She makes it into the quarters. I don't think we've really like learned too much about her yet. Of course, at the United Cup, thankfully, we got a couple of really nice indicators of where she can be with her form. The matches against Goff, Rybakina. But the Australian Open so far is looking like a very, very good opportunity for her to make the final. I hope that Mario comes in like literally the next minute because I don't want to like go over another match with him, basically, without him, sorry. And I don't want to mention Navarro Kasatkina, that was like kind of one of the best ones today. But obviously she's going to be playing Emma Navarro. Probably would have been better for Iga even if she played Kasatkina, considering how much she's been like destroying Dasha in the last 6 matches that they played, and how she clearly just enjoys the ball of Kasatkina. All the slices, you know, they don't really do any damage to Iga. So it's going to be definitely quite tough for anyone to stop her anyway before the final now, especially as we have another big story today of Elena Rybakina falling out of the event. I don't want to start that either, so I hope that Mario will be here, momentarily, as basically I'm presuming that he will, considering that a few minutes ago he said, perfect, I am coming. So either way, was there anything that I guess I can start talking about Kudermetova Svitolina, kind of take it from a different direction in this draw, as that was another match that maybe didn't fully live up to our expectations. And basically we had Veronika Kudermetova coming up 2 breaks there in the opening set, 4-1, 2 breaks on Elina Svitolina. And after that, she only won 1 game, right? She had like a total collapse, total meltdown in terms of her game. An absolutely fantastic achievement for Svitolina, of course, to make this quarterfinal, because she was out since the US Open with an injury. So to return here and to just instantly make the quarterfinals is great. I don't think she's like completely out of it either. She makes her 12th Grand Slam quarterfinal. Her next opponent has 11 now. So it's like, you know, veterans of these stages, but of course, veterans still lacking that first Grand Slam title. Considering that Świątek is in their half, well, it's not going to be easy to pick up even a final, but certainly Svitolina and Keys have both posted wins over Iga that were, well, in the case of Madi, quite dominant, and in the case of Elina, of course, the Wimbledon upset was also something special. And she showed that with that kind of new, more aggressive version of her game post-pregnancy, she was able to kind of flatten the ball out better, make herself tough to hit through, make that ball that she's playing with a little bit more tricky for Iga to start powering through. And well, we're gonna see how that goes. Mario, where are you? Yeah, I don't really want to go like too deep into it, but let's maybe start already talking about Navarro and Kasatkina then. Basically, a very entertaining match. Fourth time this week, Emma Navarro goes to a deciding set. All of these deciding sets, they've been like 6-4, 7-5, 6-4, and 7-5, I think. Yeah, 2 7-5s in the third, 2 6-4s in the third. This wasn't one of the ones where like she's... Ooh. Well, okay. Of course, Matthew. Anyway, yeah, so basically this wasn't really when she struggled the most. She had more difficult situations to fight her way out of this week. Definitely there was that Peyton Stearns one, right? I think she was also down in the third against Ziyu Wang. And we have our friend Mario here on board with us. Let's add him in. Hi, Mario.
Hello.
Yeah, so basically I didn't want to like go over too much without you, so I just ended up talking about the two probably least interesting matches. I started from the women's half, and I just talked about Swiatek-Lys and Kudermetova Svitolina. If you have any more thoughts on either of that, that's fine.
I mean, probably especially Svitolina, because Iga, I was more or less expecting her to cruise, to this match as well. I mean, the draw has kind of, opened up a little bit for her, talking about the seeds, but overall, especially the conditions seems like suiting her pretty well also. And so, I feel like there's nothing really surprising about Swiatek's result. And well, about Svitolina, she's playing really well, and I feel like it's great to see her at this level, because last year she had a great 2023 season. Then last year there were a lot of ups and downs, also due to physical issues. Also season which she ended it pretty soon because of it. And now looking really good and comfortable. I mean, she's already been in 3 Grand Slam semifinals. I know that in this, of course, half of the draw, there's Swiatek, who's looking incredibly strong, but still, I feel like, it's still quite an opportunity for her to try to do something, who knows, even bigger than this, especially the next match. I mean, of course it's gonna be difficult, but not impossible.
Yeah, I laughed at this comment from Ozan, because I just thought he was gonna be saying that like he falls asleep when he hears my voice, or that I lull him to sleep or something like that. But no, actually he was making a different point, basically that I'm permanently streaming. Well, sorta. We did Sinner-Rune with Vansh this tonight. Also watching the other women's matches at the same time, including Rybakina against Keys, actually. So because Matthew is asking about it, let's just move on to that. And then later we'll talk about Navarro Kasatkina, which was very good too. Yeah, I think Rybakina Keys did deliver. There was obviously like a large chunk of the match where Elena was dominant. Yeah. I can't deny that. But we had that, like, what was it, 4 break points maybe in the first or second game of the third set for her.
Yeah.
And after that, Madi just turns it around. Yeah, four of them. Madi turns it around with some incredible aggressive second serve returns. And it's kind of similar now for... I know that Svitolina hasn't had a Grand Slam final, but it's kind of similar, I guess, for both Keys and Svitolina now, where you're thinking, okay, so this is a massive opportunity for either player. They've been at these stages, Grand Slam quarterfinals so many times. The semifinal is going to be there for one of these. Of course, Swiatek, it won't be easy potentially in the semis, but still we are kind of like arriving at a sea of opportunities moment, because Rybakina is out, and obviously it was Keys who led to that, taking advantage of that momentum from Adelaide.
Yeah, I mean, let's say Keys, entered this tournament very strong, and she she just confirmed it, even if at times it wasn't really easy, against Rusa especially, it was a very, very tough match. But, just doing what she's been doing since the start of the year, and today against Rybakina, we knew that there was some sort of opportunity, because Rybakina, it still feels like she's, trying to improve her level still. And also, we knew that she has been dealing with an issue the past couple of days, even if, today it was a good match. I feel like Rybakina could have done a bit better in some moments, but overall, she cannot be too disappointed with the way she played. Still, I know that for somebody like Rybakina, who's been trying to win a second Grand Slam title, or at least to get closer to that, it's still for sure kind of a disappointment, even because there is Swiatek on this side of the draw, but it felt like she was probably one of course, the favorites to try to get through this section. So, but yeah, Keys' aggression for sure is a big weapon. I would say in all sort of conditions, because if you look at Keys' Grand Slam stats, she basically, played unbelievably well everywhere. Got to the final once at the US Open. But yeah, it's for sure a great opportunity for her as well, especially because it's been the player who has taken out, the other big seeds, Collins, Keys, Collins, Rybakina. So, I probably think she enters as a slight favorite the next match. But of course, with Svitolina's, great defensibility, and also Svitolina's ability to counterpunch very well, to just handle the opponent's pace, at least when she's fully fit, and playing well. I can see, of course, both players troubling each other in the matchup. So I feel like it's going to be a very, very interesting quarterfinal. Two players who are not, inside the top 8 seeds, but have the quality of tennis to to really have deep major runs, as they have had throughout their whole careers.
More likely to win a Grand Slam title, not necessarily here, but just in general, Keys or Svitolina?
Probably I would say Keys. But yeah, of course, for both, a lot of things needs to come together. Svitolina had actually a big opportunity at Wimbledon a couple years ago, because after taking out Iga, it was an open game. Indeed, Vondrousova won it. So probably the biggest opportunity so far, it's been on Svitolina's racket. But I don't know. My answer right now would probably be Keys.
Yeah, it does feel like Keys always has that level in her potentially, and anytime we have a slam, there's a lot of people picking her to go deep, and basically at some point, well, it might pan out, it might not. We'll see about this match today. Sorry, in the next round, but especially, of course, whether she would beat Iga, that would be a big one. She did beat her in Cincinnati a couple of years back. Feels like this is much slower conditions here, though. But yeah, I definitely am also part of that church. I think Svitolina has had some chances where she was kind of just out-qualitied in these Grand Slam semis, Grand Slam quarterfinals. Not necessarily the Wimbledon you're talking about. Yeah, that just was a big opportunity. Obviously, Marketa Vondrousova ended up picking that one on grass, which kind of says it all about the sort of chance that was there for a few players, especially if Jabeur was going to play the same tight match as she did against Marketa, against Svitolina potentially. Also, Rybakina, yeah, you made some very good points, obviously, when it comes to the fact that the Grand Slam record, really, that's been the biggest stain on her resume the last few years. I can't really say it's a massive big one, because, yeah, she has a Grand Slam title, she has a Grand Slam final. But at the same time, the last 2 years, it's kind of why we can't put her in the same group as Swiatek, Sabalenka, even Goff at this stage, especially if Coco goes on even deeper in this event. We can't really put her in the same category in terms of best players on the tour right now, simply because at the Grand Slam, she has not been able to deliver. Mario, I'm assuming you probably know about Lorenzo Sonego's Spotify career.
Yeah, I know. I knew about it. So yeah, I remember there was a bit of talk about that when it came out. But yeah, I guess we can I don't know about the women's draw. I wanted just to hear a little bit your take on the first two matches, Svitolina and Iga. I know that you probably talked about it already, but just a couple of words.
Yeah, Svitolina, I mean, I honestly didn't watch it. I woke up at 4 a.m. for the Sinner-Rune one. I know that Kudermetova was 4-1 up in the first. I saw like a few points later, and yeah, basically it seems like, yeah, she had a bit of a meltdown from that 4-1 double break in the opening set. Swiatek-Lys, exactly what we expected, right? It's just way too much. The serve weight of shot that Iga brings is just way too much for anyone who's like not in the top 50 or, outside the top 50. Let's say if she plays Bencic, it's not going to be too much, but I'm saying, like a proper outside top 50 player. It's been like this for a few years now.
Yeah.
And someone like Liz, who generally speaking has a pretty nice, like aggressive game, when she's confident, she can definitely play quite nicely. But against Iga, there's just like all the assets are gone suddenly. We've seen that story many times, and it's really been the same case with Raducanu, probably also Shramkova, but I didn't really watch that much. So yeah, that's these two. Definitely there wasn't all that much to talk about, but one more match that we had today and that was very entertaining was going to be Navarro-Kasatkina. You mentioned nice clash of styles with the coming up match between Svitolina and Keys, but Navarro-Kasatkina today, I think also in this department was just very entertaining to watch.
Sorry. No, it was very entertaining. It was very, very entertaining. A lot of momentum shifts. Also, two players who, I mean, every game basically could have gone either way because it's not like, of course, the serve was unbreakable for both players. Both also very strong return game, really able to, it was very easy for both, of course, to enter the rallies. So, it was very entertaining also for this reason because, before every game, there was some sort of uncertainty about, how it could have gone. And I mean, of course, there's the big story of Navarro having to fight so hard her way through this draw. I mean, she's reached her third straight quarterfinal at the Grand Slam. So basically, she got a fantastic consistency at this level. But, she hasn't started the season in an amazing way level-wise. And it's kind of impressive for me to see how she still managed to, to overcome all these difficulties that she's had. Of course, this was a big opportunity for both, regardless of the fact that there's Swiatek in the quarterfinals. I mean, for sure, because, of course, Kasatkina, adding a quarterfinal at the Australian Open, I mean, it's still something, of course. Even if we know that the matchup against Swiatek is a bit tragic for her. And Navarro, I mean, just, very resilient. She's playing now better and better because I feel like this match was, I found it enjoyable. And now I'm kind of interesting because, it's of course tough not to see Iga heavily favorite in the next match. But still, I mean, it's still gonna be for sure, I guess, a bit of tougher opponents compared to the ones she's had. Let's see how also well Navarro recovers physically because she spent so many hours on the court. So probably we have kind of a similar situation that before, we were thinking about the Sinner Alcaraz round 4 matches, because we see Navarro as this sort of player who can, who knows, maybe challenge Iga when she's playing well, when she's incredibly fit. Everything has to go, of course, into the right way for her. But probably right now she's not in the best possible conditions. Also thinking that Iga basically hasn't spent any sort of energy so far in the tournament. So, even for example, if Swiatek doesn't play well right from the beginning and Navarro manages to pick up few games and prolonging the match a little bit, still Iga would have, plenty of energies to use. So I struggle actually to see Navarro winning the next one. But, for sure it's, if we just compare where Navarro was 1 year ago, where we knew that she was, of course, growing and growing, but still, seeing her 8th in the world and 3 straight quarterfinals at a Grand Slam, it's still, huge if you, look at how well she has grown over the past, let's say, 18 months.
Yeah, still no info, Ozan, on Zangar Nurlanuli's ceiling, but considering how strong Nurlan is in the talking tennis community, I think he should be really good. And to a question about Brandon Holt, yes, of course, I did watch the Nonthaburi final. Honestly, quite a horrible performance from Kopchiva. I mean, he suddenly just started missing all his second serves. He like was so frustrated. He didn't know what's happening. From 3-2 up early, he was like up a break and was playing much better. But then when he started like waking up at 3-6-0-2, I think what Brandon did mostly, like that's kind of his main thing in this final, is that he like was a very strong front runner from there. He never really allowed Kopchiva to get back into it at all. So when he got that advantage like somewhat gifted to him, he just really made sure to close it out as quickly as possible. So in that, obviously, I have to commend him. And commend him. And also, yeah, I mean, first title, obviously, third final, so a big moment for him. Indeed, Tracy Austin tweeted about it yesterday. Either way, when it comes to Navarro Kasatkina, yeah, it was definitely quite entertaining. I think the difference between this and the previous Navarro matches was like this was one where she had all the chances to close it out before finally, she could have actually wasted it. There was 1 hour, a 1 hour 15-minute break between the match points she had in the second set and the one in the third set. So that's insane. And it's not like Kasatkina didn't actually get to at least a small chance. She had a break point at 5-all in the third. So definitely quite a tumult. I mean, yeah.
2 break points, actually.
2 break points, yeah. Stuff was happening there. Like Navarro easily could have choked that away. But she didn't. I think she's still going to be a pretty tough, a tougher opponent for Iga than Kasatkina would have been. That's pretty obvious, I think, considering how Iga has been destroying Dasha 6 matches in a row, never losing more than 3 games in a set. Of course, Kasatkina won on grass in 2021, but let's be honest, that doesn't matter. We've seen Iga hit through these slices so many times now. WTA finals was another Eva-Lys and Raducanu type of match, also just 1 game. So basically, I think that it's good that Navarro pulled through. It's going to be a stronger test for Iga. Do I expect her to win? Not really. But of course, you're also right to point out that it wasn't that we were kind of doubtful about Navarro going into this event based on her quality. It was more so the fact that the form since the US Open seemed to have collapsed. But she has recovered it. And now she's going to play Iga, which, I mean, you can only really gain from this point. Making the quarterfinals, it's already great. I mean, otherwise you can only regain. So we do expect Iga obviously to be in the semis, but maybe Navarro can give her a bit more of a run for her money than Kasatkina would have. It's just a more unpleasant ball to face, I guess, for Iga. Even if, of course, Emma will not be able to attack as much as she was today against Kasatkina. All right, and I think we might move on to the men's matches now today. Let's maybe also follow another trend, and let's start with the one that was the least interesting. So the least interesting, I guess, today would have been Alex Mikkelsen, Alex de Minaur. I mean, I understand it got pretty tight in the second set, but it was, Alex de Minaur. I can't say Alex, but ADM won 8 games in a row. Then, of course, we have that moment where the double bagel is avoided. Twice today we had that great moment where Eva-Lys also did it. But actually, Mikkelsen starts pushing him. Obviously, he's trying to crush his shots. He's trying to make sure that de Minaur has almost nothing he can do, and that the pressure on him is so immense. But in the end, I think this entire week has been just Alex de Minaur very predictably making his opponents play horribly, making his opponents' games look ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, against Cerundolo, there was also a lot of heat in the day. So even from de Minaur's side, was not a beautiful match to see. But the other 3 matches, I mean, de Minaur just did what he does usually. I mean, he got broken back in the second, but overall, it's been from de Minaur's perspective, a fine performance. And Mikkelsen, just wasn't able to, at least for 90% of the match. No, let's say 80. I mean, but wasn't really able to handle all the pressure. All that de Minaur puts you also in the baseline rally. You always feel like you have to do something more, something bigger. And Mikkelsen truly paid. And now, de Minaur has actually got to a consistency level which is incredible at Grand Slam level. 4 straight, every single one of them, French Open, Wimbledon, US Open, Australian Open. So of course, there is that final step that he lacks to reach as a semifinal. Will be probably difficult to do it right now, even if we will talk later about a bit maybe a question mark on Sinner, but whatever. Just talking on his run, I feel like it's what more or less he had to do. And so he can be satisfied at this point of the tournament. And now, of course, he will enter the next match, regardless of everything, with kind of nothing to lose, even if, of course, I mean, it would be, there's still the sort of pressure to put on a good performance because it's still a Grand Slam quarterfinal against your crowd. So regardless of how the matchup went in the past, I still feel like, de Minaur would truly, give it all and try his best to maybe make this more, interesting than all his previous clashes with Sinner. But yeah, overall, she's just solidifying his place inside the top 10 because he's got to an incredibly, good consistency level. We also shouldn't forget how the US Open, for example, he reached that quarterfinal and he really was in no condition, at least, for what we thought, to reach that stage. Of course, then we saw it against Draper in that quarterfinal. But overall, this is just another run which, confirms what we have been saying from de Minaur basically since the end of 2023. It's simply he improved a lot, basically got to a new sort of level. Especially against some sort of opponents, he has become even tougher than before to face, and just well deserved where he's.
Yeah, I mean, I think before the event, I just said that like ADM is going to have the most predictable event ever here, which is reach the quarterfinals, beat
And
everybody on the way, like somewhat routinely, and then get crushed by Sinner. That last part, I mean, I'm still pretty sure about, even with what we saw today. But let's move on to that then, because I don't think we had anything here in de Minaur and Mikkelsen really to talk about here. So let's just move on to this match. So Sinner coming up against Rune. Honestly, a weird watch. I remember thinking that like if Holger wins the first 3 matches, and of course that was like such a physical struggle as well, it was going to be even a big win for him to push Sinner. And you could argue that he pushed Sinner, but I still can't really say that this is like something, he worked so hard for today and he like was so good that he managed to do it. Because it just kind of felt like a match where the player who is feeling stronger physically at a given point is just winning. I guess maybe the one thing that we will remember is the breakpoint saves at the beginning of the third set. Like that was something special from Jannik for sure. Holger has 4 chances at that point, is dominating the match, but there's a couple of very long rallies. One of them, of course, made like Twitter highlights and everything, and also 2 aces from Jannik. So there's literally nothing that Holger can do on them. And after that, it's Rune that starts falling apart. So all in all, I mean, yeah, it was just a pretty weird match, but because both players were struggling physically.
Yeah, let's say that probably, thinking backwards, we should have had a different start of the match to start, giving Rune that opportunity, because considering also how Sinner has started struggling, and we also knew from press conferences that he hasn't sort of warmed up before the match. That's what he said. So if Sinner has been, of course, good in managing to start the match very strong, because then, the first set won really helped him in the end, because, when he started struggling, he still lost the second set, but then in the third, he managed to bring it home somehow. And then, of course, the fourth set, we kind of knew that Rune, especially, after the end of the third set, we knew that Rune, shouldn't have the energy to make this a 5-set contest or even beat Jannik. So I feel like, of course, that breakpoint saved. It's a huge moment both for the score and for how this happened. But yeah, I mean, in the end, it I don't know about you, but it doesn't even feel that much of a storyline talking about the level and the matchup, just about the physical part of the match. And how Sinner managed to pull through, and this can be big, because if he manages to feel better, then of course this win will be very important, because he's going to start as the favorite his next 2 matches for sure. So it feels like if he manages to to just stay fit, he should be able to recover and then be back to what we know he can give. As for Rune, it's also a bit tough to draw big conclusions because of course the physical part, we knew that he was not in the best position possible already against Kecmanovic. He managed to pull off the comeback, but he wasn't looking great physically with the legs and everything. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel for me that big of a story, this match, aside from the physical side of it.
Yeah, on Twitch here, AVD Hoot Walker says that Yannick showed his A-class game today. I mean, yeah, that's like a C-class game,
moments, maybe.
But that's how good he is. On breakpoint saves in the third set, but that's how good he is. I mean, his C-class, B-class game right now is literally enough to beat most players. And, even when he's struggling physically, he can still win. I mean, we were doing the watch-along with Vanch today, and I remember just like saying all the time that, okay, so Sinner looks down. Sinner looks like pretty horrible now. But, I've seen him do it this many times, right? He's going to have a few games like this, and then he comes back and wins. So he's not
it's
like one of
kind
the
of
players.
Similar,
Uh-huh.
even if from a different perspective to the Medvedev US Open match. There it was not due to the physical struggling, but the level was, I remember, very down from both sides.
The quarters. Okay. Yeah.
So, I at least in terms of, how the match went, the up in the first set, Sinner looking, quite focused at the beginning, then the dip in the level. But then, that's not enough right now to just, hang with him, especially Grand Slam level now got to a 5th straight quarterfinal. Basically, he never loses against the player he shouldn't lose. And it feels like now, as you said before, he doesn't even need to bring his A game unless it's against the 2-3 players who are his biggest rivals right now.
I mean, Ashley, does Rune train proper? I mean, obviously, he played 14 sets in the previous rounds. He had 5 sets against Zhang, very tough 4 sets against Berrettini, very tough 5 sets against Kecmanovic. Like, he was never really going to be in great shape today. I think the major difference was that, we don't really know, Jane, what was wrong with him exactly. Like, he just was feeling unwell from the beginning of the day, and that's why he didn't warm up. That's why he didn't practice before the match at all. Whereas with Rune, it started being more of like a left knee issue or right knee issue. I don't remember. Right, I think. Either way, that was kind of a little bit more harmful at some point for him. He started making all these idiotic decision-making calls there at 3-4 down in the third set. But then he takes the medical timeout right away, and we kind of know what's happening there. So basically, I mean, Rune kind of killed his chances to win this match earlier. I don't know, to your question, Matthew, if he can take much confidence from this. Depends on how you look at it. Because indeed, if Rune was much fresher, he could have beaten Yannick today. But at the same time, he doesn't get this version of Yannick every single day, right? If he gets literally just what Yannick was playing in the first set, where he goes 3-love up. And honestly, even at that point, I remember saying on the watch along that like Yannick kind of doesn't care about these return games now. He's like serving it out only. And that was something that I didn't really pay too much attention to it, at the time. But it makes sense, right? I think he already knew that kind of something might be coming up. And basically, when he got that early break, I think he was just not semi-tanking. I think that's even that is too much of a stretch. But it did feel like he's just like entirely focused on just serving it out all the way until the end. So I don't know. I mean, Rune maybe can take confidence from anything, to be honest, because he's a very...
No, I agree. I kind of agree. I don't see this being, that sort of match where you push your top opponent, but because, it's just another some sort of, let's say, normal Rune Grand Slam run, let's say, probably I think a next step, if he wants to get deeper, to get the first semi, of course, should be, try to, of course, he didn't have very easy draw, especially considering some of the opponents, but probably should waste, fewer energies at the beginning and try to enter this stage a bit more, up physically in order to make the top opponent's life tough.
Yeah, we have like this question as well. Oh, sorry, this one. what do you think was the main strategic thing from Yannick making him relentlessly good and dangerous? Today, probably nothing, because like again, as Mario said, this match wasn't really about strategy at some point. Like it was just kind of both players, whoever is fitter at the moment. We had a lot of breaks too, right? We had that 11-minute medical timeout for Sinner, which isn't really his fault because, well, someone was like the physio was coming onto the court. It was really slow. Then you have to evaluate it. Then you go off the court for we don't actually know what, but basically that also took time. And then Holger gets that medical timeout himself just before Sinner is about to serve out the third set. And then you have the net that is destroyed, 17 minutes. And at that point, it does feel like, one of the players is actually a little bit more fit at the time. And that's Yannick, like the physical edge has shifted. In general, though, I mean, Yannick is obviously just like an efficiency beast right now. Improved his serve so much, started being more comfortable in the forecourt. And just generally, he's hitting with like such good shot margins. And yeah, just shot for shot, you cannot match it right now.
No.
Rune definitely can't. And I think the first set was kind of very telling of how this matchup could have been if Sinner looked like if Sinner was just feeling better today. But of course, in the end, he still pulls through, which is important. We mentioned that Sinner the minor matchup, that's been a nightmare for Alex. And even if Yannick is not going to be like 100%, you still expect him to be there, to beat him. Anyway, let's talk about the other two then. And that was, of course, Shelton-Monfils was already mentioned by Matthew in the sense that Gael pulled the plug after set 3. I mean, he won the Auckland title. We didn't really expect him to go deep here anyway, but he made a very good effort. I mean, 5 sets against Pecci Pericard, not the most physical matchup, but he survives. Then, of course, 3 sets against Altmaier, so he really helps himself out. Phenomenal match against Fritz. I mean, you're literally just one of the best performances of his career. And today, up until struggling way too much to play, I guess he was doing fine too. I mean, 3 tie breaks after all.
Yeah, I mean, I actually was not even expecting him to last that much, meaning that probably after the first set, it was a tight one, but Shelton managed to win it. And then I felt like, he could have started struggling a bit earlier. But no, I mean, I feel like it's been a great story watching Monfils. I mean, he still played a good match today because, against this sort of opponents, he was also up a break. I mean, he didn't really, hold for it, so it doesn't really matter. But in the third set, he also had his chances, at least up until a certain point. And then, yeah, I mean, I feel like especially the win against Fritz is, of course, the biggest, takeaway from him. Fantastic Australian trip this year, because getting away, especially at this age, at this stage of his career, with the title and a big run at a Grand Slam, highlighted, of course, with a fantastic win against Fritz. But also, I mean, beating Pecci Pericard, it's not easy at all. Probably it was already there, maybe not easy to expect him, bouncing back that well from the title run in Auckland, and being able to go 5 set against Pericard, regardless as what you said about the physicality of their matchup. So I feel like Monfils has been, of course, one of the biggest storyline of this tournament so far, and he can leave this tournament very, very happy about where his level, and I would actually say even his physicality, despite today he had to retire at that point, but to play so many matches in a row at that level, it's for sure huge for somebody at that stage of his career.
Yeah, I mean, not much more to add about that. Obviously, it was just all tie breaks. He was definitely in this one against Ben. I think I was mostly like sleeping through it. So like I was waking up from time to time and catching a few games and then going back to sleep because of watching that Sinner-Rune clash in the night. But I think when I saw how Gael was acting in the third set tiebreak, like that was when you realized, okay, this match is actually done. Like literally there was almost no effort to chase down balls anyway. He was just completely spent. But it is what it is. I mean, he is 38. Last year, we didn't think that this was going to be like possible at all. A run like this at this stage of his career. So there's still an incredible effort. Unfortunately, just one person from the Svitolina-Monfils household is still in the event, and that's not their child. Anyway, there's also one more match, of course, between Sonego and Tien. Someone mentioned already earlier that Lorenzo is the teenage dream killer, said Brazy. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, he's just so confident in these matchups against the teens. Next gen finals champion Fonseca, next gen finals runner up Lerner. Both of them he kicked out of this event just at various stages. Was this today as good as his Fonseca performance? Probably not. I think Lerner also had some minor fatigue issues, like the accumulated stuff from the qualifying and the first week here definitely paid its finally ended up he ended up paying the price for that. But still, Sonego, I mean, you have to respect that he is really, really strong against these guys and just kind of plays he wants to end their I don't know, not end their career, obviously not, but he wants to end their breakthrough event, yeah, he just wants to end their dreams, and he is doing that. I mean, he beat 18-year-old Joao Fonseca, he beat 19-year-old Lerner Tien. He actually could have played 39-year-old Stan Wawrinka and 38-year-old Gael Monfils in the same event too, which would have been insane. He is going to play another pretty young player, Ben Shelton, but yeah, first quarterfinal at the Grand Slam level for Lorenzo.
Yeah, I mean, fantastic result for him. Last year we know that he changed coaching team. Now, there's not anymore until the half of past year. His, historical coach, Gipo Arbino, which was the one, since he basically started, his trip into tennis. He changed things a little bit, but still last year, it seemed like he won a title at 250 in Winston-Salem, which was, of course, a big thing. But overall, the season was a little bit, too many ups and downs, basically just stagnating. At least myself, it left me a little bit wondering about this year. What could have been his, let's say, his goals, and probably this run just answer to my question. So basically waiting for an opportunity to come and use it, and that's what he did, because this has been a quarter of the draw that has opened up a lot. Still, he had to beat tough opposition, because especially against Fonseca, that second round match, it felt a very, very big win, and it was. So yeah, I mean, fantastic for his career to get a Grand Slam quarterfinal. And just the motivation that he shows up on the court, the way he truly started believing, probably, who knows, maybe right during that match against Fonseca, starting believing that there was a chance for him to take. He's playing very well. Of course, Tien, we knew that there was not, everything at the right place for him, also physically. I mean, it's been kind of a story of this tournament, this Australian Open. There have been many fantastic matches in the first week, especially many tight ones. But then the survivors from all these big battles and these entertaining matches then haven't been able, at least at this stage, to really challenge, at least, have their full chances against their opponents, because we've seen Draper. We can also argue about Rune, not of course Sinner, because it was some sort of other thing. It's not like he played very tough matches. Tien, of course. So it's been a bit an underwhelming probably round, this round 4 overall. But yeah, I mean, we'll see now the quarterfinal, because the lineup is very good, and there can be of course very good stories that are already to talk about. So let's hope the match will deliver from now on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the quarterfinals should be much better. The fourth round, indeed, a bit of a dud on the men's side, but that's okay. We're going to get some great matchups now. And indeed, the players who are alive in the event, none of them have massive physical concerns over their heads. No one has been able to advance to the quarterfinals without dropping a set. But we also have so many players like Sinner, like Alcaraz, like Djokovic, like Zverev, who really haven't spent that much energy so far.
No.
And I think this will lead to some excellent matches as we go on to the rest of the event. Of course, maybe not in the top half, where if Sinner is healthy, he's just going to kill everybody. But at least in the bottom half. And actually, of course, the last thing we need to do today is basically talk a bit about the matches for tomorrow. We have, of course, just 4 in the men's and women's singles by now. We will start the day with Gauff and Badosa. Then, of course, there's also Sabalenka, Pavlyuchenkova beginning the evening session on Rod Laver Arena. Is it just going to be a Gauff Sabalenka semifinal like everybody was expecting before the event? Who do you think has a better chance at the upset, Badosa or Pavlyuchenkova?
There's a big chance, of course, to have that semifinal, which would be actually a remake of last year's semifinal. But I would still say Badosa. I mean, I have a bit in my mind also. Badosa challenging Gauff in Beijing. And I mean, Gauff, of course, has kept growing a lot with her level since then. But, just the way Arena plays, the way he has played against Andreeva, especially. I know that Andreeva and Pavlyuchenkova can be a bit different as a challenge. But still, I actually struggle to see anyone but Gauff and Swiatek beating Sabalenka at this tournament. Not that I don't struggle seeing anyone but Sabalenka or Swiatek beating Gauff, considering how how she's playing right now. But still, I feel like Badosa can have a little bit more in herself rather than Pavlyuchenkova. So I think for me the difference is not based on Gauff or Sabalenka, but rather based on the fact that I consider Badosa right now a more dangerous player. I know Pavlyuchenkova is playing very, very well this week, of course, but I feel like Badosa can have something more in herself.
Yeah, Pavlyuchenkova has a decent record against Arena, but that's like all back in the day. We know that these don't really hold up. Sabalenka has a few matchups from like back in the from the past where like she was struggling against other more like very power oriented players. So like Anisimova, for example, obviously has that famous head to head against her too. Less so, I guess, power, but more timing. Donna Vekic leads Sabalenka in the head to head by so much. And I just don't feel like it holds up anymore with the way that Sabalenka is, so efficient right now. Pavlyuchenkova isn't at the stage of her career. Isn't Pavlyuchenkova just like a weaker, less dynamic Sabalenka?
Probably.
You can definitely make
Probably,
a case
yeah.
like this. So yeah, I don't know if I see that. I mean, Clara Tauson was very close to at least taking a set of Sabalenka. So it's not like she is completely just unbeatable. But whenever this year Sabalenka has faced adversity, she has been able to fight it. Just fight it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's also.
I would say kind of an impressive thing about her is that we are actually seeing her kind of doing some Sinner-like thing, being able to raise her level when the challenge comes, even in Brisbane and here. I mean, with Andreeva, she kind of matches up well, but regardless, Andreeva is still a dangerous opponent. She enters the court and she just, shows up her best level of the week so far. So I don't know at this stage if Pavlyuchenkova, maybe round 1, round 2, probably Pavlyuchenkova would have even be able to make it a tougher contest, in my opinion. But I don't know, quarterfinal, I really don't see Sabalenka.
So basically, your suggestion to Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova is to drop out of the 32 seeding range and try to land Sabalenka in one of the early rounds.
Probably just to avoid her.
That's good. That's gonna be tough to do now that she's made the Australian Open quarterfinals and her ranking is gonna go up.
Right.
Yeah, so many quarterfinals over the years at Grand Slam level, Pavlyuchenkova, but it's probably where she ends here. I've read some weird stuff today about Badosa Gauff that like it's interesting because Badosa last year, she pushed Coco twice, and Coco is just like the better player by so much. So it means that Badosa has some matchup advantage she can use. I actually don't really agree. I think last year there just wasn't really a better player there. Like Coco, yes, she has incredible fundamentals, but she was still kind of limited by the issues with her second serve, the forehand. Now they seem gone for the most part. The way that even against Bencic she was hitting these forehand cross-court returns. Like, yeah, this is new quality in her game, and I do kind of struggle to see a way to the win for Paula as well. I think that quality-wise she is closer to Gauff than Sabalenka is to Pavlyuchenkova, sure. But it's probably still going to be that incredible semi that we were longing for. Badosa, of course, last year also played a Grand Slam quarterfinal, so it's 2 in a row for her. But we remember how nervous she was against Navarro there, so maybe something to look at here as well if she starts pushing Gauff. But yeah, both Sabalenka and Gauff just look so incredibly tough mentally right now that it's not going to be easy to beat them. And of course, the men, Paul Zverev and Djokovic Alcaraz. I mean, one is not quite like the other. Obviously, one is stealing the show and stealing the spotlight tomorrow. But maybe let's start from the weaker one, sort of like in terms of the big names. Paul Zverev, like, is that any sort of a concern for the German? Do you think Tommy has a shot? I know I'm asking you, so probably you do. I think I know you do manage to remain objective.
No, I mean, I think, of course, I'm not even looking into the head-to-head. I know that everybody is showing love, but I mean, doesn't truly matter in my opinion, especially since one was 7-6 in the third, so doesn't really show us, and whatever. I think Paul can trouble Zverev when it comes to taking some time away from him. Thing is that Zverev is looking actually very solid, very good. I mean, there's been that part of the second set against Humbert where kind of nothing started working, but it lasted really 4 or 5 games, nothing more. I can see this being, the toughest match of Zverev's Grand Slam so far. And I mean, it's still a great opponent and quarterfinal. So, I would say that Paul can have a chance when it comes to take time away, really attack Zverev, try to, to just be very aggressive and, manage to put pressure maybe also on Zverev's forehand, and let's see if maybe, it can break down a little bit. So, I can see how Paul can cause troubles to Zverev, but Zverev, he is the favorite. I still would be a bit surprised to see Zverev not winning tomorrow's match, if I have to be honest. So, I can see Tommy, taking his chances and having some, but I would say Zverev is the favorite, and, couldn't be otherwise for the way he has been playing so far.
Yeah, I don't want to give empty promises, but I think this will probably be the match that I'm going to be doing a watch along for tomorrow. So again, 4 a.m. It kind of worked out today because I ended up going for a long nap, which lasted like 5 hours. So I'm hoping to do the same tomorrow, basically. But either way, yeah, I mean, Djokovic Alcaraz is obviously the one that everybody is waiting for. Before the start of the event, I guess most of us were thinking this is probably going to happen. I definitely expected the Czechs to give Djokovic a tougher test. And maybe if they did, then I would be saying now that, yeah, I mean, Carlos has this in the bag. I don't actually think that anymore, but he is probably still considerably the favorite. It's going to be the night session. The last couple of seasons, other than the Olympic final, it feels like Djokovic to combat Djokovic to combat Alcaraz or Sinner, he has to like serve really well and be very aggressive. And that might be tougher to do in the evening session. Then again, do I really trust Carlos to like be safe enough with his game and, just not go for any flamboyant shots in order to potentially beat Novak like pretty confidently, considering how well Djokovic has been defending? Probably not. But I mean, still looks like an extremely exciting clash, obviously.
Yeah, I don't want to be pessimistic. I know that we never have to count Novak out, and actually he's been looking better and better this tournament. But I don't know. I'd still struggle a bit to see him really winning that one tomorrow. I can see him pushing Carlos, of course, having nice moments throughout the match. Of course, he's in a way better position than when it was at Wimbledon last year. So, I would be surprised to see a blowout, of course, but I think, I still struggle a little bit to see Djokovic winning. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just, underrating him if it's possible when it comes to a 24-time Grand Slam champion. But, also for the way Carlos has been playing, he has been playing very well. I mean, of course, the opposition was not the same as Djokovic, but still, I don't really see the conditions to see Djokovic winning. But I still think it could be, of course, kind of a tight one, and I'm expecting, of course, Djokovic to start really strong. I feel that would be, of course, important because despite Djokovic being probably the fittest player ever. Still, right now, of course, there is a difference between him and Alcaraz. So, yeah, he has to serve great, of course, as you said, and also in the comments, Matthew. So, we'll see. The serve is looking very good so far. So probably this would be a great factor if he manages to serve that well. Of course, Alcaraz is a great returner, but we'll see. I still would say Carlos right now.
Yeah, it does seem like the conditions generally this year at the Australian Open are pretty slow. I know he won at the Olympics, but it was like kind of the the determination and the hunger and the motivation at its peak.
And also the pressure.
I'm not really sure
I think a bigger
the
pressure
pressure
on
on Carlos. Yeah,
shoulder.
I mean, Carlos was definitely quite nervous in that Olympic final. Maybe he will be here too. I mean, we've seen him do that against Novak in some other matches too. Of course, the Roland Garros semi, which feels like ages ago, and it kind of was, but still. But yeah, I mean, my expectations, I guess, are still, Alcaraz is the favorite, but I am a little bit more excited about this match than I would have been pre-tournament. I do think Novak is looking sharp.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it as well, of course. I think we can see, great rallies, great points, because, of course, first two matches, Novak was looking a little bit up and downs. Then Mačak, Lehečka back to back, pulling through in that way, especially Lehečka, because I feel like Mačak had a very off day. For sure it got
Lehečka played the match of his life.
Truly not. But
just kidding, because somebody in the chat yesterday asked me, like, which of the Czechs do you think did better, Machac or Lehečka? And I did say Lehečka, but yeah, I mean,
well, it was not Lehečka still, but
yeah, it's not a good concept.
So yeah, I mean, I'm excited as well. Of course, I truly cannot wait to see it, regardless of who I think the favorite is.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely just not a blowout either way, and we'll be happy. I think that's basically it. As I said, I think this is the last ball drops show. I think the ready play ones are still going to be there, or I believe. And then, of course, we're going to do a lot of watch-alongs. As I said, probably you can expect me on the Zverev Paul one at 4 a.m. my time again. So the second match on Rod Laver Arena tomorrow after Goff and Badosa play. Kind of disappointed, because that means I will probably have to miss Goff Badosa if I am going to get my beauty sleep, but it is what it is. Also, if anyone is interested, just right now, the Buenos Aires final pushed from yesterday is going to be starting. Adolfo Daniel Vallejo, Juan Pablo Varillas. I wouldn't be myself if I didn't give it a bit of an ad here.
That's
so
true.
Basically, Challenger TV, we're welcoming you there. Either way, that's basically it for the Australian Open action of last night, of yesterday, of tonight, wherever in the world you are. And also a short preview for there. Yes, that's a story that I wanted to mention, Ghosty, but I forgot. Wade announced that they're not going to be appealing the Swiatek
I was pretty sure.
decision. You were what?
I was pretty sure that actually.
Sure, yeah.
It didn't surprise me at all to see that news, because, of course, there's always comparing cases, but, there's nothing to compare. When it comes to this, it's pretty all straightforward. So I truly didn't think there was going to be any appeal. And so, I got a confirmation today of what I was thinking.
Yeah, same. I definitely was not expecting anything to come out of this. I mean, I wasn't expecting anything to come out of the Sinner one either. But just like, watching, sort of like reviewing the details of the case, it didn't really seem like, oh, sorry. Yeah, that's my stream for Buenos Aires. Anyway, yeah, I mean, either way, I was not expecting anything either. Just reviewing the details of the case, it just seemed pretty clear that they didn't really have an edge there that they could push for. It's like in a tennis match.
I feel like this time there's been more of a storyline because of the Sinner appeal. So, also with the media.
Normally, we wouldn't even think of this. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Normally this is something like we wouldn't even consider. There's the decision from the ITIA, and we just accept it, and we don't think that there's an agency that can potentially appeal it. Like normally, we don't even pay attention to this. But yeah, because of the fact that that Yannick got his, and he's gonna have that hearing in April. That's only really why people were kind of scared for Iga as well. Either way, not going to happen, but the Australian Open tomorrow is going to happen, so keep tuning into the Talking Tennis content. Thank you, Mario.
I think it's been the biggest news for Iga, of course, today.
Definitely, yeah. I think Lys was just a bit of a done deal. There are 3 pieces of news for Iga today. The third one being that she got the ITF World Champion Award or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But this is BS. Like, this is, by the way, the most ridiculous decision I've ever seen. 800% should be Sabalenka. In all other categories, it's just the number one. So Emerson Jones, Nikolai Budkov-Kjer, and Yannick Sinner. So basically, this is Sabalenka paying for what? That she can't represent her country at the Billie Jean King Cup? Because they mentioned there that it's Billie Jean
last
King
year
Cup,
it got
like...
to Sabalenka. Last year in 23, but it was very even. Just the Grand Slam stats. Arena reached one more final, so it makes sense. Here, I mean, if Iga got the gold, probably it would have been maybe. But yeah, I get, of course, what you say about that. But I mean, I don't feel like it's anything Sabalenka will cry at night.
No, I mean, this award is just, this award is definitely not anything that I'm in any way interested but I was just very surprised to see it because it's like, Arena won 2 slams and is the world number one. I mean, it should be Arena. But for whatever reason, they decided to go against it. Either way, it's just going to create some controversy among the fandoms. But the neutral guys like us, I mean, sure, it's just another award that either of them can get and that they have already won before. So Lys's daddy was a pro. Did you know that? I did not. But was he pro at tennis or was he pro at carpentry? Anyway, let's just finish it off right here. Varias Vallejo, I'm coming. And by the way, just thank you, Mario. Thank you to everybody in the chat.
Thank you.
We'll see you on some other Talking Tennis content.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.